I'm Seth,
My name's Deshaun.
and welcome to
Comic Gamer Movie Show.
Ta-da! And on this episode, we are going to be reviewing a Marvel movie that we both saw. Well, he saw it recently. I saw it a while ago. Age of Ultron. So, Deshaun, you saw it
Avengers
recently.
Age of Ultron. This might be a little late.
Yeah, this is a little late, but the next movie review we're going to do is really late. But it's a movie. Well, the next movie we're going to review is The Babadook, and that is a horror movie unlike anything else. But we're going to do that later.
We have different opinions on that movie, by the way.
We do have the different opinions on this movie, but it's been a while since I've seen it. I don't remember too much about it, so that's why he's going to talk through most of this and refresh my memory. So,
are we going to give spoilers? Is this a spoiler episode, or should we pull back on the spoilers?
Pull back on the spoilers, and we'll do a spoilers discussion.
Well, okay.
There's two separate videos.
As the title says, this is Avengers Age of Ultron. Ultron is the big bad guy in this movie who was created by Tony Stark to be a peacekeeping machine. Now, a lot of you comic book lovers are kind of going, now that wasn't the original person who created Ultron. Hank Pym, Ant-Man, is the original creator of Ultron.
Yes.
But they didn't go this route in this movie. I really don't know why. Maybe I'm kind of hoping that in the next in the Ant-Man movie, that because I can't give too much away I can't say much without giving a spoiler, but hopefully in the Ant-Man movie they say something along the lines of Hank Pym created it, because if you
maybe he helped create it, or maybe he gave the idea to Tony Stark.
Yeah, and I think he came up with the idea, and Tony kind of kept what's the word I'm looking for? He added more to it with new technology. He added more to it to make it real or whatnot.
Yeah, because in the original comics, Ultron wasn't that high tech, was he?
Yeah, he was just created by Hank Pym. He was created to look like Ant-Man because he had the little ant thing, and he looked like Ant-Man. He was created was high tech. He was just created by Hank Pym. It wasn't created by Tony.
Sorry.
Well, technically, it was created by Tony and Bruce Banner, but they just say Tony. Well, anyways, Ultron is pretty much the James Spader. James Spader as Ultron was one of the greatest casting choices ever seen.
That was a good idea.
His voice was just chilling. There was parts
sinister. It was very sinister.
There's parts in this movie where he was like, he just say things that were just so cold. Like that dark humor he has going, it's very unique, and it's James Spader, man. I mean, that Ultron was definitely one of the most unique and interesting. I don't know if he's as good as Loki. I'd put him a close second.
Loki wasn't that great, though, to be honest.
A lot of people love Loki.
A lot of people do love Loki, but I didn't like his actor
in the history of Denver, I actually love Loki. I love his performance. I can't think of anybody else playing
Loki. In the first Thor, I thought Loki was great. In the second Thor, he's just a whiny bitch.
I love Loki, man. Come on. He's the trick. He's the god. He's a trickster. He's the god of mischief.
So anyway, let's talk about the basis of Age of Ultron, the story, without giving anything away. The story is Tony Stark did create Ultron to be a peacekeeper, but eventually Ultron, kind of...
Well, it was more...
Not gained sentient knowledge, I guess you couldn't say. Not sentient knowledge, but he did...
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of sentient.
I mean, he did gain... I guess he did gain sentient.
I mean, he took over the internet and whatnot.
Yeah, basically. And then when he saw all this, he was like, all right, if he wants me to be a peacekeeper, I'm going to do this my way.
He did it. Tony...
So he did fulfill... That's the one thing. He fulfilled his purpose, but not in the way Tony Stark wanted him to fulfill.
Yeah, Tony just wanted him to just protect the world and then don't interrupt anything in the world. Just protect it from the outside forces. As far as Ultron's concerned, he's doing his job. But Tony Stark's concerned, that's not the way he created him for, which is like, and you know what? That's evidence that Ultron is now a sentient machine. Ultron is really a part of Tony Stark. He's Tony Stark's personality because, oh man, there's so much I can't say because I'm not trying to spoil it, but
I'll just give like little tits and tats, man.
I think that
like you're gonna say something about it, don't do it big.
I'll say
ruin the ending. Don't ruin the ending, and don't ruin anything like that.
Okay, well,
you have like little tits and tats. That's not too bad.
Well, I'll say that a lot of people gave this movie grief for being too fast at creating Ultron, but the thing is, when you watch this movie, if you pay attention to the beginning, they say that they've been working on this for a while. They were missing something. They've been working on it for a while. Even Bruce was like, I thought it was a dream. I mean, a fantasy. They've been talking about this and working on this for a while. So they needed one ingredient and they found it in Loki's staff, and that's how they got it to work. It wasn't that they did it like
a
that.
Tesseract? They didn't use a Tesseract though.
Loki's staff, the jewel in his staff.
Oh, the jewel in his staff. That's right. And basically, for those of you who don't know, Loki's staff in the first Avengers basically was like the remote control of the Tesseract. That's basically what it was. And
Seth, Oh, damn, I can't explain anything without shooting away a spoiler.
Well, I mean, like I said, little tits and tats. Don't give something away that'll
Well,
spoil the ending. Like don't spoil the ending.
Well, the movie's been out for a while now. Really.
I know, but
if you haven't seen it, then but I'll still pull back.
I know, like if we spoil this movie anyway, they're just little tits and tats. They're not gonna be like movie ending spoiler or sequel bait spoiler. They're just gonna be like little pieces that we pick apart.
Another thing that I think you might, I know you're thinking that the jewel in the staff is a part of the Tesseract.
Isn't it? I thought it was.
The jewel in the staff is his own Infinity Stone.
That's right. Oh, I thought it was like the remote.
It's its own stone.
Tesseract.
It's its own stone on its own. It's just in one of those. Like the Tesseract itself isn't really a stone. The stone is inside of it.
Yeah, well, you can't.
It's a casing.
It's a casing.
It's a casing, just like in
It's funny. It's
Guardians. They have the little orb. It's a casing for a stone.
Right. And the Tesseract, for those of you who don't know, is
Space Cube.
Space Cube, but it's also called the Jewel of Odin's treasure room, and it was basically a way to travel throughout the galaxy without the Bifrost. It's a way to travel throughout the universe, throughout the 9 realms without the Bifrost, which is the big space portal thing.
And in this movie, not giving away like how it happens, but in this movie they actually introduce like the first time the heroes are aware that someone is trying to get all these gems. Like throughout these movies, they've been hints to Thanos and taking the gems. This is the first movie that a heroes actually are aware that someone's trying to do this. Mm-hmm. And Thor travels back, preferably for Thor Ragnarok, which is probably gonna be awesome.
Oh boy.
But so it's the first time that they're aware that someone's trying to steal all the gems. It only had one end credit scene, but that's pretty interesting.
It was. And what else?
The vision works.
It does.
Let me just tell you, a lot of people like me, if you're a comic book fan like me, you started thinking, how are they gonna make the Vision look good on screen? Because the Vision is weird with that whole big, huge yellow cape and the weird face and the weird body. I was like, oh man, he's gonna look stupid. And then they did the Vision. Well, Paul Bettany was perfect casting. I don't think Marvel really miscast anyone. Not really. Like, everybody they cast is whether, like, great for the role or they grow into the role. I mean, I can't see anybody playing
it's like
Loki.
Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It's like he fit Tony Stark's character very well.
I can't see anybody playing
and I think, what's his name who plays Thor?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth does play Thor very, very well. He really does.
I can't see anyone playing Thor. I can't see anyone playing Loki. I can't see anyone else
I can see someone else playing the Hulk, but not very many.
Only
Ruffalo, a few could pull
I say
off.
Ruffalo. The thing I like about Ruffalo's thing as the Hulk is he feels like you feel bad for him. Like his acting comes through when I kind of like see like when I saw the other guys who were the Hulk, I was like, come on, you guys are bitching about it. I mean, I know you're sad, but it didn't really come through. But Ruffalo's version, I look in his eyes. And not to mention, for the first time, they may turn it into the Hulk like it was painful. Like, you can hear him going, they may turn it into Hulk actually look like it was painful.
Yeah, because in the first
and other ones, he just grew.
Yeah, he just grew in the first Avengers. And it makes sense. The only thing I didn't like about Age of Ultron was the forced romance that they had between Black Widow and...
This is where we differ.
This is where we differ. Like, here's the thing. Romance works in a movie if it makes sense. This one didn't make any sense at all. Bruce Banner and Scarlet, like, come on, are you kidding me?
As Black Widow.
As Black Widow, it's like I said, if it makes sense, then go for it. If it doesn't make sense, cut the no forced romance.
I think it made more sense than you're giving it credit for because she says it. She says it in the movie that all her everyone she knows is a fighter or something, and here comes a guy who does not want to fight, who wants to be alone, who's a recluse. Who thinks of himself as a monster?
But they're so out of place.
They're exactly like, and when she explained it, it made perfect sense to me. I mean, they're just alike in that sense that they're both two people who are on their own. They're not heroes. They're not team players. They're two people who would go out on their own. They're the two people that are least trusted in the whole group. People who they really don't know about. They're the outsiders. They're the outsiders.
They do have a lot in common, but like I said, it didn't make any sense. But like, here's an example of a good romance: is the TV show Arrow between Oliver Queen and Laurel.
Well,
at first,
everybody knows there's gonna be a romance. If you're kind of you know there's gonna be a romance.
This is why this makes sense. Is because it alluded to that they were in a relationship. She hated his guts after he finally got back, and they eventually got together and then split off apart as soon as Sarah was revealed.
They keep doing that crap over and over and over and over.
But like I said, Laurel and Oliver Queen
he's with this chick, he's with that chick, he's with this chick.
Not after he gets back.
He's probably gonna get another chick.
Not after he gets back. Before he was stranded on the island.
And it's sad because that's the only thing I hate about comic book shows is because everyone knows what's gonna happen. Everybody knows he's gonna marry Laurel. He's not gonna be with publicity on that.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not, and like sense. That's why I kind of go. That's why I can't watch that show because I'm like, I know how this ends.
Yeah. What's another?
He's not gonna die.
What's another good example of makes sense for romance?
It made sense to me just because you didn't see it coming. Just because you didn't see it coming, that's another thing. You didn't see it coming.
No one saw it
that,
coming.
And they went outside.
Maybe that's why some people didn't like it.
They went outside of the comic book because that doesn't happen in the comic book. They went outside of the comic book to make something new and fresh. So I always thought that was ballsy anyway. The fact that they went, I'm not gonna pander to these comic book fans.
You know what? I will give it to Marvel for breaking the old tradition of the comics. I will give it to Marvel for doing that because the one thing about DC is that they rarely won't do that. They will rarely do that in any of their movies. So what else was there? We're not going to talk about the ending spoilers. We're not going to talk about much.
I know it was a pretty cool scene. There's this pretty cool scene with Thor, Iron Man, and Vision. And I can't give it away, but it's a pretty cool scene. You'll know it when you see it. Yeah. Thor, Iron Man, and Vision all in the same time. This movie was good. I don't know why so many people are down on it. I don't know why either. It's a great movie. Now, I don't know if I liked it as much as the first. Just the only reason I say I like the first one more is just because of the pop out that these guys are on screen together. Right. Like you can't replace that. I mean, that was just so groundbreaking. But
really, the one thing that sold it for me, I always say this in every good action movie about a comic, there's a great villain.
Yeah.
It's just like the old saying, behind every good man, there's a woman. But in this case, it's just like behind every hero, there's a villain.
Also, like what
Ultron was a sentient machine being that, fulfilling his purpose, he's doing what he was created for, not in the way Tony Stark thought it would. But that's what really makes it cool. It's just like... It's like, oh shit, it's like Ultron, this peacekeeper. No, he's not. Or in his own mind, he's
I guess he's trying to be a peacekeeper.
Yeah, he's trying to. Like I said, he's a machine. So, the concept of right and wrong, of morality, is not in his head. Because he is a machine. Even though he's sentient, that doesn't mean he knows the difference of right and wrong.
Pretty much.
And so that whole discussion can be talked about in a 5-hour-long video.
I like how they did. I like how they used Quicksilver because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're using Quicksilver."
That was a weird thing.
Days of Future Past, Quicksilver was like so beloved, even though I really was
Quicksilver and his sister. Were they brother and sister in this movie, or were they like cousins, or like
brother and sister?
They were brother and sister, just like in the
like in the comic book.
Just like in the comic book. Right, so they didn't.
And they're from actually Marvel was more accurate with the source material in this because Quicksilver and the other one was like from Brooklyn or something, and Days of Future Past he was like from some town, and he could move.
Yeah, that was really funny. It was like when he was like moving as fast as he was. I remember the one scene in that movie where they're in the Pentagon breaking Magneto out of prison. And he's just like putting on his music. He just runs around.
Quicksilver was great, but I always kind of felt like he was a little overpowered a little bit.
I don't think he was.
I thought he was because I'm just like, what's the point? Like I'm like, it sounds stupid to leave and not have him with you when he could just solve every one of your problems on his own.
I know that part I didn't like. They didn't keep him with the group.
Like it kind of felt. I don't know. He kind of felt a little. Plus, Marvel was a little bit more. Oh man, I ain't saying I like each his own,
Right.
But Marvel was closer to the source material. Quicksilver was from that country.
And his sister, what was her name again?
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch. She had the power to in the X-Men series, she had the power to create anything she thought of. In this movie, I can't remember if that was her power.
It's telekinesis, so she can move stuff and
she moves
break stuff, and she could get into your head and
so she's basically a psychic / telepath. But in the comics, she could create anything from nothing.
Yeah,
that was her power.
Her powers are complicated though. Her comics. That's why I feel bad for him because I'm like, that's about as simple as you can keep it.
Her own dad Magneto didn't really trust her.
I would.
He tried to keep her under wraps, and in this movie, it really that's the only thing about that breaks the comic was that instead of making her able to create whatever she wants, they just gave her telekinesis.
Another thing I gotta point out about this movie, Hawkeye finally gets his just due in this movie. They finally gave him some screen time. They finally let you see what's behind the man of Hawkeye, and it's pretty great. It's great to see just this dude. And a lot of people kind of criticize him for being this dude. I've always found it fascinating and great that he's just this guy among all these people, and he can stick out. And
when you first meet Hawkeye, he's just you think he's a really stiff government, trooper. That's what you think at first, and then finally, once the movies come along, you see he's just a regular Joe. He's just
He just happens to be able to hit a penny off of a truck moving at 1,000 miles per hour. He's an actor.
He's so accurate.
I think this thing that gets lost in some of these movies. Hawkeye in the comics, as all you know, is considered the most accurate man in the entire Marvel universe. Like, this dude, he's a guy who I've seen shoot an arrow through 6 buildings and hit a guy in the head. Hawkeye is not. He's one of the most accurate human beings, and he's got these trick arrows that can do about 1,000 different things.
Yeah, he's got like exploding bolts, grappling hook bolts. He's got like EMP bolts. He's got all kinds of stuff.
I mean, Hawkeye.
But that's one thing about Hawkeye.
He's underrated as hell, and
he is underrated.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you, I'm tired of all the shit talk about Hawkeye. Hawkeye is underrated. Hawkeye is one of the greatest archers of all time.
He is. And that's the one thing about Hawkeye that I love about him the most, is that he's just an average, everyday dude. Or that's what he acts like. He's just like, he's just like, I mean, like, I remember in the first Avengers where he was like, Loki has the Tesseract, and he's like, yeah, get in line. And it was like,
I mean, Hawkeye's just, and it's kind of funny, because Tony says this line in Age of Ultron where, when at the beginning, Barton, Hawkeye, gets hurt, and like when he's getting healed up, and Banner walks up to him and says, "Is he okay?" He's like, "Unfortunately, he's still Barton."
That's the thing. Hawkeye is such like an average Joe. He's such an average guy. He cracks jokes. Him
and Quicksilver had this cool little chemistry thing going.
That was
where
weird.
They kept coming back to it. It was kind of funny.
It was weird.
It was kind of funny just because they kept screwing with each other the whole time.
Yeah, it was
There's
weird.
this one funny scene with Hawkeye, but you'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see. We're not gonna spoil it. So anyway, guys, we were going to do a separate spoilers thing, but like I said, we're not going to say the ending. We're not going to say what happened. We're not going to say we're not going to say anything. This is basically, like, any spoilers you heard in this movie was basically tit for tat things. Just little tiny things that aren't going to spoil the ending or anything like that. So anyway, we're not going to do a separate video on this. The next video we're going to do is the Babadook review. After that, we're going to start our next series, Villains Versus. And we already got our villains, but you're not going to find out until the video. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of
Comic Game Movie Show.
And we